Hey there, this is Kristen with K Design Co. And today I want to walk you through how to update the SEO settings on your Showit template. So the template that I'm going to use as an example is my Kimberly template, but this same process is going to work for any Showit website that you have or template that you may have bought. So I'm going to go ahead and just dive in, and I am going to start with the kind of page-wide SEO settings. And so you can go ahead and navigate to any page on your website. And I'm just going to go ahead and use the home page as an example, but this same process can be done for all of the pages on your website. So every page on your site has the option to add an SEO title, and you should be able to see this once you are clicked on any page from this menu over here. If you don't see this menu over here that has an SEO settings tab, it probably means you're clicked inside of a canvas. Once you click inside of a site canvas, you won't be able to see those settings. So to get out of the canvas itself, you can just kind of click over to another page and click back to make sure that you are only on the page settings. So you're going to add a page title in this SEO settings box. So this title should be something that is obviously related to your page, but ideally would also have some type of keyword inside of it. So you have up to 60 characters that you can utilize for this space. And a lot of times people will do something to the effect of maybe for this type of website, it would be a business coach for women. So that could be a key term. And then maybe you would have your brand name at the end. What you do want to do is kind of utilize the maximum amount of characters that you can. So if there's any way to squeeze, something more descriptive into this space that describes your brand or would help you in terms of keywords, I would suggest you to kind of play around with that and do your best to kind of make the most of that space. And once you have your page title written, then you also want to add a meta description. So the meta description down here, this would be another place to add a keyword rich description for your page. And this is what is shown in the search results. So if I open up a tab here and I type business coach, just as an example, if you kind of scroll down past like any type of maps or people also ask, the meta description is typically what shows in this little blurb right here. So as an example, on this search result, so this would be their page title in SEO, and then this would be their meta description. So you can see how that shows up in an actual search result. So you want to kind of utilize that space as somewhat of a call to action, but also to be descriptive and also to think about those keywords that you might want to be ranking for this page. So again, you want to kind of utilize the maximum amount of characters that you have. I believe the character count is roughly 150. I will double check that, but you have about 150 characters that you can include in this space. So maybe your meta description might be something like looking for a business coach in San Jose, California. You could use this space to also include information about your location. Check out Coaching by Kimberly for all your business coaching needs. Something like that. Obviously, you can write it better and tailor it to your business, but this is just a quick example. So the only thing about the word count here or the character count, it's actually not shown for the meta description, even though it does have a limit like the page title does. So if you want, you can actually go to this site that's pretty cool. It's called metatags.io. and you can actually put in your description and kind of see a preview. So actually, I believe that, there you go. Okay, so yeah, you can see a description of your meta description up here, and you can also put in your page title as well. So to kind of preview to see what would get truncated maybe. So if I wanted to even add a little bit more, it kind of gives me a visual to show, okay, how much space do I really have? Coaching by Kimberly, business coaching. So at some point it may get cut off, but this is kind of just a nice little way to visualize that, and use this tool to kind of help you see what somebody might see when they're looking at your search result. Okay, so now that we've got our page title good, we have got our meta description good, the last thing that you can add in this section is called a share image, and this is actually the featured image that would get shared, like as an example, like if you shared this link to somebody on Facebook in a Facebook post. So it would kind of look similar to how this is, and this would be the preview image right there. Similar like for Twitter, that kind of thing. So this is kind of less to do with SEO, since that image doesn't necessarily show in search results. As you can see, these are all just text-based, but it is nice to have, especially when you're sharing that link a lot on social media. So I would advise you to add a share image for all of your pages as well. It could just be the image I use at the top of the page, like in your header, or whatever you think is appropriate. So those are kind of the basic SEO settings that you can do for each page, and I would encourage you to do that. Obviously, it's going to take a little bit of research into, using the right keywords, but Showit makes it pretty easy to kind of get in here and make those updates. So next, what you can kind of do to fine tune your SEO even further on your page would have you actually click into a canvas. So any canvas where you have text, and every text box on your Showit website has a HTML tag associated with it. And so that tag is driven by the type of text that it was created from. So within Showit, you have these 4 different types of text boxes, and these are kind of based on the styles that are set in your design settings, but they also correspond to a specific HTML tag. So for example, the title, if you place a title on any page or any canvas, you'll notice it's automatically in H1. If you place a heading on any canvas, it's automatically in H2. If you place a subheading on any canvas, it's in H3. So you can kind of see how that goes. But you don't have to keep those tags as they are automatically applied. You have the freedom and ability to adjust the tags as you need to, because sometimes you may not necessarily want, you may want this style for your text, you may not want that to actually be your H1. So I'm going to show you how you can customize the text tags to correspond to the right types of headings. So let's say you wanted to adjust your tags to correspond to obviously the main heading and the main content of the page. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these items, and I'm going to click over to my page tab just to make it a little bit easier so I can see those elements, and I just hit delete. So if I look at these tags here, I can see that this one is a P tag. So a P tag stands for paragraph. So it would just be kind of any kind of basic text on your page that's not necessarily a heading. You don't want to give it a ton of weight in terms of SEO, because you want to kind of reserve that for your H1, H2, and H3. These two are as well P tags. You could change that, obviously, if you wanted to give a little bit more weight. Since there's not a lot of like keywords happening up in this section, it's kind of more of like an intro versus like a title or anything. That's kind of why I set these to BPs, but you could obviously adjust as you want. If you wanted to have your H1 heading up here, you could certainly do that. The one key takeaway with using an H1 heading is you only want to have one H1 on your page. Any page on your site should only have one H1 heading. So if you have multiple H1 headings, then it's hard for Google to distinguish which heading is the most important and which one it should focus on, kind of as your main title. Think of that as like the highest level. So if you have other content on your page that you want to give importance, but it's not quite as important as the H1, then that's where the H2 and the H3 come in. So we have maybe this section up here, maybe it starts to talk a little bit more about your business. So potentially this could be your H1, or maybe you just kind of want to leave it at H2. And then we again have kind of some paragraph text that's kind of just more descriptive. And then we have this area down here. This area actually I kind of wanted to feature to be my H1, since it was kind of a little bit larger and kind of stronger on the page. And so I've assigned this as my H1, and then again I have some more P text here as well. So you can go ahead and do this process throughout your whole site. So there's kind of some baseline styles set up for you and baseline HTML tags already assigned in your text boxes, kind of as I showed you before, but you have the freedom to go in and customize this as much as you want to fit obviously the keywords and the placement of your elements on the page. Now, another thing that you can do for your SEO, besides just setting the text tags over here, would be to arrange the text elements in your canvas from bottom to top. So it seems a little bit backwards from what you may typically think. Normally you think something might go top to bottom when you're arranging it. And that can be true in some cases, especially when you're talking about like background elements or background images, things like that. But in terms of text specifically for SEO, it actually crawls your page from bottom to top. So in order to kind of get that appropriate order of the way that Google is crawling your page, you can move your text boxes around just in the order that they are in your canvas, kind of just by clicking and dragging them. I think I've kind of already got them arranged how I want, but you can feel free to move them around as you want. So you can see as I'm hovering over the text and I'm going kind of from bottom to top, you can see how it's highlighting things on the page kind of as in the order that they are. So that's kind of how the order that SEO will read them. If I go from top to bottom, you can see it seems kind of backwards. So that's how you can kind of tell how Google is going to read them, just by hovering over them and moving your cursor around, and you can see what's being highlighted. So that's just another quick tip for you. Okay, and now that we have talked about all of the text kind of properties and the page properties, now I want to talk about images. So when it comes to your images on your site, every image has the option to add what is called alt text, and in Showit, there are kind of two fields that are related to this. So alt text is not only good for SEO, but it's also good for accessibility for vision impaired readers who might be visiting your website. And so what we want to put for our alt text is essentially a way to describe the image if somebody were not able to actually see that image. So we don't want to just like stuff keywords into this image description area just for the sake of getting kind of that SEO credit. What you want to do is actually just describe the image, like honestly, what's being shown. So if I were going to describe this image here, I would say, this is a woman looking at a notebook, sitting at a desk. So that is something that we could type into the description. businesswoman looking at a notebook, sitting at a desk. So you want it to be, you know, pretty descriptive. Like, I wouldn't just say like woman, you know, that's kind of pretty basic. So, you know, give some context to what's actually happening in the image and why it's like adding value to the page, why it's even there. And then SEO title, this is more for kind of labeling purposes versus actual SEO value. It's not going to get a lot of added value by putting something here. I more label this than anything. Maybe it would be like the homepage header, kind of like a more administrative type label, if that makes sense. And then or if you want, you can copy and paste both into both areas, but the description is actually the element that holds the most SEO weight, if you're curious. So that is something that, again, you can do for every single image on your site. Like I said, this is something that you can customize to obviously the content that you have. It definitely doesn't hurt to have keywords in your alt text, but again, like I said, this isn't something where you just want to add keywords just for the sake of it or the fun to get, you know, the SEO credit. You really just want to be kind of truthful about what the content is on the page. So that is another quick tip regarding the image settings for kind of working towards your SEO. Okay, so we talked about the kind of page site SEO settings that you can set for all of the pages that you have over here in this section. But what about these blog templates down here? So these are a little bit different because since they are WordPress enabled, you're actually going to update your SEO settings there. You'll notice if you click on one, like I clicked on homepage, it says SEO settings for blog posts and pages can be modified using SEO plugin in your WordPress admin. So I'm going to show you actually how you can add those as well, using my own homepage as an example, because I have a WordPress version of my homepage as well. So I'm going to click over here. This is my homepage that I pulled up. And when you have a WordPress enabled page that is listed on your blog templates, you'll need to also have this page in WordPress. So I have a page called Home in my WordPress, and once you have your Yoast SEO plugin installed, you'll see this little box on every single page or post of your site. And so it has a fun little tool where you can kind of type your key phrase that you might want to be targeting for your page. And then down below, you'll see some little snippet previews of your meta and your mobile and desktop description. And then below that, this is where you're going to add your SEO title. So this is the same section that we had in Showit, where you can add your SEO title. So you're going to put this here. And then usually you don't need to mess with the slug, but then your meta description, this is the second field that you have in Showit to update for your meta description. So you can see how there's this little red sad face. This is because Yoast has this really cool built-in tool where it will basically analyze the content of that page and tell you, based on the key phrase that you entered here, like how well your page is optimized for that key term. Well, since we're actually pulling the content from Showit for my homepage and not from the actual WordPress page, that's why it's saying it's sad and it wants me to optimize my page better. But since I'm actually pulling that content from Showit, it's not going to be able to pull that in just yet. So if you notice that, don't worry too much. But this is a really good tool that you can use for your blog posts when you write your blog posts in WordPress, and then you should be able to kind of utilize this analysis in a little bit better of a way. So if you go down here also on your page where it says featured image, this is actually the same as the share image and Showit. So you just make sure that you have a featured image added to your page, and that is over here on the right hand side. Kind of scroll down and you can add your featured image. And then once you have made your changes and added your title and your meta description and your featured image, then you can just hit update, and then that will be your SEO settings for that page. And this would be the same process again for any page that you have listed under your blog template that you want to add SEO settings for. So and you would do that for most likely your blog page, and then if you had any particular other unique pages. So for your single post, you'll actually do your SEO settings on the blog posts themselves. So I can give you a quick peek at that as well, so you can get a kind of an example. So if I go back here to my posts, this is a recent post that I just had written. This is what it looks like when you actually have content in WordPress. And if I scroll all the way down, you'll see, okay, now I have my key phrase, and I have a little orange face now. And here again, here's my title. And here is my meta description. For your blog post, and using this Yoast plugin, you actually have the ability to just dynamically generate your title. So unless you want it to be different than what you have named your page, you can actually that's why it just says title. But then you also have these tools, like I mentioned, where it can kind of give you some tips to further optimize your posts. So it's telling me, a few things that I could do to actually increase the keyword optimization of this page based on the key phrase that I entered up here, which was website audit. So you feel free to, spend as much time as you want on those kind of optimizations. Just because you get, all of these to get a green light isn't going to necessarily mean that you're going to rank for that phrase. There's a lot of things that go into SEO that we just don't have enough time to go over today. But you can kind of see like some easy ways that you might just be able to try to improve this for that in particular, that keyword. So I think that about covers it for SEO. So we talked about the page settings, we talked about the text settings, and we talked about the image settings. So if you have any questions about optimizing your Showit template for SEO, let me know, drop them in the comments. Otherwise, please subscribe to this channel and let me know what video you'd like to see next. Thanks.